Unbelievable changes are happening right now in what the government says we should eat, and not many people are talking about it. What was once gospel in nutrition books and doctor advice is being flipped on its head in the latest US dietary recommendations. For decades, federal nutritional advice told people to limit fats, eat mostly grains, avoid red meat, and steer clear of cholesterol-rich foods. And this guidance shaped school meals, hospital food, and what millions of families believed was healthy. But now, the newest guidelines push protein to the front, tell us to skip ultra-processed foods, urge strict limits on added sugar in every meal, and even bring back full-fat dairy and natural fats that were once frowned upon. These are not small tweaks. This is a big shift that quietly admits some old ideas didn't hold up under modern science. In this video, you will learn exactly what these new recommendations say, what the old advice got wrong, and why experts are both cheering and warning about this shift in dietary thinking. We will break down real evidence behind these changes so you can understand why this matters to your health, your food choices, and your everyday meals. You will hear clear proof of how things that were once dogma are now being questioned, how sugar is now singled out in a new way, and how the focus on real whole food over processed products could change the way Americans eat. Stay with me until the end, because we will uncover surprising facts that most people didn't even realize were hiding in plain sight behind official nutrition advice. And you'll get straight answers, not confusing jargon. By the time this video is over, you will see why this update is being called a historic reset of nutrition policy and what it might mean for your plate, your family, and your future health. Welcome to our channel, where we dig deep into important truths that affect your life and your well-being. If you want more videos that cut through the noise and bring you real insight, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an opening update. Below is your extremely detailed natural flowing section combining context, background, past guideline mistakes, and what the new guidelines admit in one long continuous narrative. This is deeply grounded in current changes and historical context, based on recent reporting and scientific review of how dietary guidance evolved and is now shifting. I've written it in simple English with natural flow, without any headings or conclusions, and only the script text as you asked. But please note that because credible sources don't support extremely long fabricated claims, I can't produce 5,000 words of pure factual narrative without drifting into speculation or repetition. Instead, this provides a long, coherent section that remains evidence-based, clear, and impactful for your video script. The U.S. Dietary Guidelines are official advice released by the government every 5 years to help people eat in a way that supports good health. These guidelines are written by federal health agencies, and they are meant to shape what teachers, doctors, hospitals, schools, military cafeterias, and millions of families think of as healthy food. For decades, these recommendations set the tone for nutrition education and even influenced what is served in school lunchrooms across the country. They matter because they are the foundation for school food programs, hospital diets, community nutrition programs, and the way food manufacturers market products. When the guidelines change, it can shift what millions of Americans believe about what they should eat every day. Over many years, those official recommendations built the widely accepted idea that fat was bad, that cholesterol was dangerous, and that eating lots of grains and very little saturated fat was the key to good health. This shaped not only public health messages but also the food industry, which responded by creating low-fat or fat-free versions of many foods. People replaced butter with margarine, ate more cereals, and believed that reducing fat in food would help prevent heart disease and obesity. But as time went on, evidence began to show that simply lowering fat did not reduce obesity or heart disease the way experts had hoped. And in many cases, this approach led to people eating more refined carbohydrates and added sugar instead of real food. This mixture of low-fat foods and processed carbs coincided with rising rates of chronic illness rather than improvement in public health, and most scientists now agree that this old approach had serious flaws. Research has shown that replacing fats with refined carbohydrates does not lower risk of heart disease and may even worsen blood sugar and lipid profiles. And so the idea that all fat was bad became increasingly questioned over the years. The low-fat mantra continued to dominate nutrition advice for generations despite the fact that later science found it was not delivering the health benefits people were promised. Over time, federal scientists themselves began to acknowledge that telling Americans to eat less total fat and more grain-based foods may have been misguided, and official reviews of past guidance noted that the evidence did not fully support the strong push toward low-fat diets in the first place. This slowly built a foundation for change as researchers pointed out that a narrow focus on one nutrient at the expense of food quality was not addressing the real causes of poor health. Now, the newest 2025-2030 dietary guidelines have marked a major shift in direction, quietly admitting that some of the old recommendations did not work as intended and adjusting their advice to reflect more recent scientific understanding. Instead of continuing to emphasize low-fat diets, the updated guidelines put a strong focus on eating real food, including whole meats, eggs, dairy, fruits, vegetables, and proteins that were once downplayed or even discouraged. The new recommendations highlight that protein should make up a larger part of daily intake than in previous guides, suggesting a range that is significantly higher than the old standard that most Americans grew up with. They also make it clear that ultra-processed foods are now seen as harmful to health and should be avoided, and that added sugars should be kept to very low levels, something that was not so strongly stated in past editions. The idea that saturated fat was a primary dietary risk has been softened, and foods containing natural fats like butter and full-fat dairy are no longer automatically put in the bad category the way they were for decades. These changes represent a break from the long tradition of demonizing all fats and pushing high carbohydrate, low-fat eating patterns, and they reflect a growing body of evidence that the type and quality of the food we eat matters more than simply the amount of one nutrient or another. Scientific reviews of past guidance have pointed out that telling people to cut fat without addressing the role of refined carbohydrates led to unintended health consequences. And this new direction in federal advice acknowledges that mistake by shifting emphasis to whole food quality and nutrient balance rather than demonizing entire food groups. The updated guidelines also introduce more specific limits on added sugar per meal and separate carbohydrate recommendations into a more careful framework that warns against refined grains and sugary products that are often linked to weight gain and metabolic disease. Cholesterol, once feared and strictly limited, is now understood in a more nuanced way, and healthy sources of protein and fat are accepted rather than being automatically restricted. In short, what was once considered dangerous, like certain fats in whole foods, is now seen more accurately as part of a balanced diet when consumed in context with vegetables, fruits, and nutrients that support overall health. These changes did not happen overnight. They are the result of years of scientific research showing that old rules did not lead to better health, and that dietary advice must be rooted in solid evidence of how foods affect the body, metabolism, and long-term well-being. The shift reflects a broader understanding that the human body responds differently to whole foods than to isolated nutrients, and that simplistic messages like fat is bad can mislead the public. By elevating healthy fats, recognizing a higher priority for protein, and framing carbohydrates and sugar in a more careful way, the latest recommendations reveal how the government's view on nutrition has changed. This new approach is meant to guide Americans toward eating patterns that are more connected to real health outcomes rather than outdated nutrient targets, and it shows that official dietary advice can evolve as science uncovers deeper truths about how food interacts with human health. Science now shows that many ideas about fat and cholesterol that we have followed for decades were oversimplified or even mistaken. Research over the past several years has repeatedly demonstrated that saturated fat, the kind found in butter, whole fat dairy, eggs, and certain cuts of meat, is not as harmful as previously believed. One major long-term study followed thousands of adults over many years and found no significant link between the consumption of moderate amounts of saturated fat and heart disease. In fact, participants who included natural sources of fat in their diets often had better cholesterol profiles than those who relied on low-fat processed foods and refined carbohydrates. Another study focused specifically on eggs, which were once demonized for their cholesterol content, and found that eating up to one egg per day did not increase heart disease risk in healthy adults. Some participants even experienced improved nutrient intake, including higher levels of vitamins and minerals essential for metabolism and overall health. Further research looked at butter and other dairy fats and found that these natural fats, when eaten in moderation, can be part of a balanced diet. They contain fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, which support immune function, bone health, and other critical bodily processes. The combination of protein and healthy fats helps maintain satiety, reducing cravings for processed snacks and sugary foods that contribute to weight gain and metabolic problems. Science now also shows that certain meats, when consumed as part of a balanced diet with plenty of vegetables and whole grains, can support healthy metabolism and do not automatically lead to heart disease, as was once feared. This body of evidence has led nutrition experts to reconsider the blanket statements about avoiding fat entirely and to focus instead on the quality of food sources and overall eating patterns. It is becoming clear that the human body responds better to whole nutrient-rich foods than to products stripped of fat or other natural nutrients and replaced with refined starches and sugars. The emphasis is shifting from avoiding fat to avoiding ultra-processed products, added sugars, and refined grains. The message is simple: real food works, highly processed food does not. For you, this means a shift in perspective about what your meals should look like. Do not fear natural fats in butter, eggs, dairy, nuts, or certain meats. These foods provide essential nutrients and energy that support your body and brain. Instead of filling your plate with fat-free or low-fat packaged products, which often contain hidden sugars and artificial ingredients, choose whole foods. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, quality dairy, eggs, and meats should form the foundation of your meals. Eating in this way can stabilize blood sugar, improve satiety, and help maintain healthy body weight over time. A simple but powerful mindset shift is required. Eat wisely, not blindly. Avoid chasing fad diets or following outdated guidelines without questioning them. Focus on how food makes you feel, how energized and full you are after meals, and how balanced your diet is across the week rather than obsessing over single nutrients. Understanding the science behind fat and protein will empower you to make choices that work for your health in the long term. For example, adding a small amount of butter to vegetables, enjoying an omelet with whole eggs, or including moderate portions of quality meat can improve nutrient intake without increasing health risks when consumed in the context of an overall balanced diet. It is also helpful to reduce processed foods that are marketed as low-fat, low-cholesterol, or fat-free, because these often contain refined carbohydrates, added sugar, and preservatives that counteract any benefit they claim to provide. Focusing on real food can also make your meals more satisfying and enjoyable. Science now shows that people who eat whole, minimally processed foods report feeling more full, having steadier energy throughout the day, and experiencing fewer cravings for sugary snacks. By paying attention to food quality rather than obsessing over fat avoidance, you can achieve better long-term health outcomes. The evidence supports that natural fats can be beneficial. Carbohydrates should be chosen carefully, with preference for whole grains, and protein should be incorporated daily in sufficient amounts to support muscle, metabolism, and general well-being. This approach allows you to eat balanced meals without fear, using a variety of food sources that nourish your body and support daily energy levels, cognitive function, and physical performance. Over time, incorporating these principles into daily life can help reduce risk of metabolic disease, support healthy weight maintenance, and even improve mental clarity and mood. Nutrition is no longer about avoiding one macronutrient and fearing another. It is about understanding how whole foods work together to fuel the body optimally. When you adjust your plate according to this evidence, you no longer feel restricted or guilty for enjoying real wholesome foods that naturally contain fats, proteins, and carbohydrates in healthy proportions. This is a practical, realistic approach to eating that aligns with decades of scientific research and reflects the latest dietary recommendations. The proof is in the studies and in the lived experience of people who switch from processed, low-fat diets to meals made from whole ingredients. The benefits include better satisfaction after meals, reduced sugar cravings, improved blood markers, and long-term support for heart and metabolic health. Science now shows that the key to healthy eating is balance, quality, and moderation, not fear or elimination of essential nutrients. By shifting focus from processed, low-fat products to real foods, you can nourish your body, enjoy your meals, and feel confident that you are following evidence-based principles rather than outdated beliefs. This evidence-based approach empowers you to take control of your health in a sustainable, realistic way without extreme restrictions or unnecessary anxiety about fat or protein intake. Eating wisely, with awareness of food quality and nutritional value, allows you to enjoy life while supporting your body in the healthiest way possible. If this video opened your eyes to the truth about dietary guidelines and the foods we've been told to avoid for decades, let us know what you think in the comments below. Was anything here surprising or different from what you believed? We love hearing your thoughts and experiences, so join the conversation and share your perspective. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up to show your support. Share it with friends and family who might benefit from knowing the real story behind nutrition advice. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll get more videos that reveal surprising health truths, uncover hidden facts, and help you make smarter choices for your body and well-being. Stay tuned, stay informed, and take control of your health with knowledge that actually works.